Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, we're gonna read a book called by Seth Meyers. I'm Not Scared, You're Scared by Seth Meyers. Pictures by Rob Saegh Jr.
But all the family is already, oh, you're that mother. He said it loud enough that everyone in the lobby turned to stare. During the ceremony, she tried to stand up and besought fear to give a blessing. Pia's 5-year-old cousin yelled, "Auntie, sit down! You're blocking!" The whole mandak laughed. When she tried again, Pia's aunt suddenly had a coughing fit and needed water, which my mother just happened to be blocking. By the third attempt, Pia's grandmother had developed urgent stomach problems and needed my mother to show her to the bathroom
was a bear
immediately.
who
At the
was
reception, she couldn't participate in any of the
Each
dancing
night
because her dress was too
before
big for
going
her
to
boots.
sleep,
While everyone else was doing garba, she
he would
stood in
tie
the
a
corner
bell
like
to his
deflated
door
meringue.
that would
She
make a
tried
noise
complaining
if
to other guests, but Pia's family
anyone
had spread the
tried to
word.
sneak
Every
in.
time she started her sob
Because
story, someone would
even
interrupt with, "Oh, you must be so
bear
proud of your son,"
who is
and launch
scared
into praise
easily
about me. Her
is
final
a
move was
very
grabbing the mic during toast.
heavy
My son
sleeper.
wet the bed until he was
He
12.
even-
The
he
room
was
went
even
silent.
afraid of
I
his
wanted
own
to die,
reflection.
but Pia grabbed the mic. How wonderful that
And
you were such
because
a
he couldn't
supportive
see
mother
himself,
during his
he
childhood
never
life. Medical
brushed
professionals
his
say
teeth.
bedwetting is often caused by stress in children.
Well,
Thank you for sharing how you helped him through
and he
such a difficult
always
time.
had.
The crowd started clapping,
He
thinking my
never
mother had
brushed
shared a
well,
touching story
and
about
he
supporting me
always
through
had
childhood
food
trauma. My
stuck
mother
in
stood
his
there,
teeth.
mouth open, as 300 people
When you are a
applauded her
scared
vulnerability
bear
and
with
brave
food in
parenting. She
the
left
feeding
early, her
tube,
white dress
you
stained
don't
with turmeric
have
from
many
when Pia's
friends.
cousin accidentally bumped into her during the holiday photo session. Later that night, during our
That's
first
when he's in
dance,
bed,
Pia whispered, "I
and
told
that's
you to
him
trust me. Your
being
family
scared of
is
his
evil.
own
I love it.
reflection."
Welcome to the dark side. We have samosas." My mother called the next week demanding an apology for being excluded from wedding planning. I sent her the video of her toast.
Bear
Everyone
had
thinks it was
one.
beautiful, I said. Pia's
Bear
posting
had
it on
one.
social media to show
Bear
the
had
supportive
one.
mother
Rabbit.
you've always been. She hasn't
Rabbit
mentioned the wedding
was
since.
never
Pia's sister
scared.
already has
She
plans
could
for
read
when we have
scary
kids. Wait
stories.
until she
She
sees what we
slept
do
with the
in
door
kitchen
wide
for
open,
grandmas. I married
and
into
she
the right
brushed her
family.
teeth while
My
hanging
mother
from
showed
a
up to my
tree
Indian
branch
wedding in a white ball gown.
by
My mother
her
always made
ears.
everything about
This
her.
gave
On my
her
birthdays, she'd
very
demand gifts because
strong
you wouldn't
ears.
exist without me. At my college graduation, she pushed me off stage during photos so she could hold my diploma. When I got
That's
promoted
her
at
reading
work,
the
she told
script,
everyone how her
and that's
parents
her
made
with
it
her
possible.
clothes.
So when I told her I was marrying
And that's
Pia, I knew
her
she'd try something.
brushing
Life is
her
traditional
teeth
for the mother
with
of
the door
groom, she announced
with
3 weeks
her.
before.
That's her brushing her
It's an
teeth
Indian wedding. Everyone wears
by
bright colors.
hanging on her
Your
ears.
perfect. People should know
on a
who
tree
raised
branch.
such a successful son. Pia found me stress-eating samosas at 1 a.m. after that call. Just let her wear white, she said, rubbing my back. Trust
One
me.
day, Rabbit made an announcement. Bear. One day, Rabbit made an announcement. Bear, we are going on an adventure.
Then I became a private pilot.
Bear suggested instead of going
when she saw me at Christmas dinner with my new fiance
on an adventure, they could read a book about adventures.
That
way, if anything goes wrong, we can just close the book. Rabbit looked at her friend and asked, Bear, are you scared? And Bear replied, I'm not scared, you're scared. And with that, Bear walked out the door past Rabbit. And with that, Bear walked past Rabbit and out the front door. Bear stopped. Bear stopped to make sure that they had everything they needed. Do I need a bike helmet? Bear asked. No, said Rabbit. Do I need oven mitts? No, said Rabbit. Do I need repellent spray? You're a bear, said Rabbit. That's him. Suggesting reading the book. That's him walking past Rabbit out the door. And that is him asking if he needs this stuff that he said in the book.
I laughed for the first time in a week. Up in that Cessna, nothing else mattered. Not Maggie, not Bennett, not my parents' disappointment. Just me in the sky. I got home to find Maggie packing. Bennett helped carry her boxes. Nice place, he said, looking around my studio apartment. Bit small though. Maggie deserves better. I didn't respond. Just watched them load her things into his Tesla. Flying.
After a while, they came to a small stream. It looks deep, said Bear. It's not deep, said Rabbit. It looks cold, said Bear. It's not cold, said Rabbit. It looks like it's filled with fish who have very sharp teeth. The kind of fish who would like nothing more than to nibble at the ankles of a delicious bear. Rabbit looked at her friend and asked again, Bear, are you scared?
Just like that. Second
And Bear replied once again, I'm not scared, you're scared. And with that, Bear walked along the stream until it narrowed enough that he could step over it. There he found Rabbit, who had fallen asleep waiting for him.
Genuinely found my flying stories fascinating. We've been dating 6 months. Maggie's face when we walked in was everything. The designer dress, the subtle jewelry, the quiet confidence. Everything Maggie pretended to be. Bennett looked tired, stressed. He pulled me aside. Listen, I need to talk to you about something. Before he could continue, Dad clinked his glass. Bennett has something to share. Bennett stood up slowly. I've been suspended from the hospital. Pending investigation.
After a bit longer,
Maggie went white. You said
they came to the edge of the woods. It looks dark, said Bear. It's not dark, said Rabbit. It looks spooky, said Bear. It's not spooky, said Rabbit. It looks like it's full of trees that are going to fall down and bonk us on the head, said Bear. Rabbit looked at her friend and said, Bear, are you scared? And Bear replied, I'm not scared, you're scared.
Then Bennett texted her, my older brother, the surgeon who saved lives and drove a Tesla, who made our parents proud at every family gathering while I fixed computers for...
And with that, Bear realizing he would do anything to avoid the dark and spooky woods, walked to the road where he waited for the bus. The bus picked him up and all the way over around the forest. When he got to the other side, he woke up. Rabbit, who once again had fallen asleep waiting for him. Oh, I forgot to show the picture.
They haven't even unlocked awareness yet. There's a chance he's gonna be saying he's trying to write a novel about freshies. Is he doing it for the knowledge?
They walked some more until they came to a mountain. It looks high, said Bear. It's not high, said Rabbit. It looks slippery, said Bear. It's not slippery, said Rabbit. It looks like one of the rocks had fallen and lay on my paw, said Bear. Rabbit looked at her friend and just to ask, Bear, are you scared? And Bear replied, I'm not scared, you're scared. And with that, Bear realizing he would do anything to avoid the slippery mountain, he walked to the nearest train station, and the train took him halfway around the mountain to an airfield. The airfield Bear bought a ticket. At the airfield, Bear bought a ticket and on a helicopter, and that flew him to the top of the mountain and dropped him off next to Rabbit, who no surprise here, had fallen asleep. Rabbit, said Bear, should we go? Rabbit, said Bear, waking up. Should we go home? I am not going home, said Rabbit, and she bounced off of Bear, following behind her. After a bit more walking, they found themselves at one side of a long rope, at a long rope bridge. Bear stopped. It looks rickety, said Bear. It might be a little rickety, said Rabbit. It looks old, said Bear. It might be pretty old, said Rabbit. It looks like the boards might break if you were heavy enough, said Bear. Agreed Rabbit. Rabbit looked at her friend and said, Bear, are you scared? And Bear took a deep breath and said, Yes, Rabbit, I'm scared. I was scared of the river, I was scared of the forest, and I was scared of the mountain, but I am the most scared of this long, old, rickety bridge. And with that, Bear turned around and headed home. He marched back to the helicopter that flew him back to the airfield. Then the train took him back to the forest, and where he got on a bus that took him to the river. He would cross the rivers and then trudge all the way back to his house and he crawled into bed. Rabbit went to the middle of the bridge, thought, and see, this bridge isn't dangerous. It's a good bridge. And prove it. She started to jump up and down. And then she jumped even harder. And then she jumped even harder than she had ever jumped in her life. And then the board was jumping. The board she was jumping on cracked in half. Rabbit fell right through the hole. And bridge, lucky for Rabbit, she had very strong ears, but she knew she wouldn't be able to hold on forever because of this, Rabbit, for the first time in her life, was scared. Now Bear and Rabbit hadn't noticed, but throughout their journey, they had been followed by a small bird. Bird realized she had to go help, so she flew as fast as she could all the way to Bear's house. Bird flew in Bear's window and started chirping as loud as she could, but Bear didn't wake up because even sleepers who are easily scared are heavy sleepers. The bird was about to give up when he saw the bell on the doorbell, and at that moment, Bear felt something he had never felt: courage. He was so worried about his friend that instead of staying home where it was safe, he ran out the door faster than any bear had ever run before. When Bear reached his dream, he ran right through it. It only came up to his ankles. When he came to the forest, there was only 3 trees. And when he came to the mountain, he didn't even think about taking a train. He climbed right up and a helicopter. He just climbed right up it. It wasn't very high. Meanwhile, Rabbit was now hanging on only one ear. She could feel it slipping too. And just as she lost her grip, Bear grabbed her by the ear and lifted her to safety. Bear, were you scared? Asked Rabbit. And Bear said with pride and honesty, Rabbit, I was scared. Rabbit, I was scared. I was scared too, said Rabbit, and Bear smiled. Sometimes it's okay to be scared. That night, when Bear brushed his teeth, he didn't hide from his reflection. He didn't hide from his own reflection. And do you know what he saw? A very brave bear with no food in his teeth. The end. This is one of my favorite books because I love how it's funny, and I love both of the characters, and I love how the bird knew how to save the. And I loved how the bird knew how to go to the bear and save the rabbit. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching. Bye. Bye.